Hi and welcome to this VisionServer video. This video demonstrates the functionality of our prototype plugin for the MVTech Halcon software. So what I've got here is a template application created in VisionServer that just gives us simple navigation. So I've got a test, I can test this, and I can have multiple pages where I can have settings, diagnostics. So this is just a starting point where we're going to create our application. So the first thing we want to do with Halcon is connect to a camera. So when we right click on cameras here, we can add an image file device, a webcam, which is natively supported in VisionServer, JPEG stream, also natively supported in VisionServer, or a Halcon imaging device. So if I select Halcon, right click on that, select accept, and give my camera a name. I'm going to call this camera. I can specify a driver, so in this case I'm also going to connect my webcam using the Halcon Direct Show, and I'm going to specify the color space as RGB, and I can click accept. Alright, so now Halcon has connected to the camera. I can double click on this and I get a property sheet for this camera where I can edit the properties. I can also acquire an image. This allows you to quickly and easily set up the camera. So I'll just close that off again. For the purpose of this demo, we're actually going to be using an image file, so I'll just go ahead and create an image file device. I can specify image file, and I'm going to specify that the format is Halcon. So I'm going to add an image file device, and I can double click on this, and I can specify a file or a folder. So I'm going to choose a file, and I'm just going to use this image here. I'll go accept. So I'm just going to disconnect from this camera since I don't need it anymore. Alright, so now that I've got my image file, I can create a task. So a task is our image processing sequence. So I'll go new task, and we get our function block surface. So I'm going to get my image file device and just drag the block on here. If I click run, you can see that it's executed, and I've got my image file here. And I can get a tooltip to show what the data is. So now let's go ahead and add an image processing tool. So under Vision we have Halcon, and we have a number of tools under here. Since this is a prototype, we've only implemented a small number of the tools available in Halcon. So let's just go ahead to start with and add a morphology block. So I can just drag that on. I can select it, and I can specify the operation I want to execute, dilation, erode, so on, and the structure type. I'll just leave that as dilation, and I'll just link this up and click run, and we get an output image, a dilated output image. So in this case what we've done is we've combined a number of separate Halcon operators into an easier to use function block where you simply specify the operation and the structure type. Alright, so now that's a simple image processing operation. So let's go ahead and add a matching block. You can see it's got an input image, and we're outputting the row, column, rotation and score by default. So let's just link this up. We'll select the box, and up the top here we have training. So we can set our train image. So let's just click on this button. We get our region editor. I can click edit, and I'm just going to use this top corner here. So this uses the Halcon display edits. So I'll right click to accept that. Click accept, and now that's set up. So I can run, And I can also just mouse over this block here, and you can see I get a tooltip showing graphics overlay. This overlay is very useful, as it means you don't have to write scripting to actually display anything. It's automatically provided for you. And I can get my outputs here. And let's just change the property on this for the subpixel so that it's going to be least squares, so we can get a bit more precision out of it. So we're getting a bit more accuracy now. So we'll just add one more tool, which is a read data code. So let's just add that on here, and I'll link that up to there, and I can click run. And let's just mouse over it, and you can see there we get a tooltip showing that it's found our data code. We can mouse over the output here, and we can get our decode result. We can specify our code type, and the other thing we can do here is we can actually specify a region. So every Halcon tool in VisionServer has a region that we can set. So I can enable the region, I can click region here, and I'm just going to draw a box. Edit, draw a box around it, and I'll confirm that and click accept. So now when I run this, you can see in the tooltip that the operation is actually only applying in the area that I specified. So now we've got a very simple image processing sequence, not too much in it. So now what we want to do is actually add some controls on the screen on our HMI pages to actually show some of this. So let's go ahead back to our menu main page. I'll just make this around, and I can add a Halcon display object. So just drag this on here, make it a bit bigger, and this I can set the source, and the source is just going to come from our camera, which is image file, current image. And in the tag browser we also get a tooltip, so it's nice. So accept. And what we'll also do is we'll add a button on our main screen here to run the sequence. So take picture, and then let's add a script. And since we're just going to run the script manually, I can actually go over here, and you'll see under tasks in my function list, I have tasks, task, run. So I'm going to just drag that on, and we get the function. I can also press F7 to get the same thing. Now save that script. So now every time that button is clicked when the system is in test mode, it's going to run our image processing sequence that we just set up. And obviously we could actually have that sequence execute when an image becomes available in the camera, so for hardware triggering and so on. So let's just go ahead and have a look at what it looks like on the user interface in test mode. Go test mode. You see here we have our image, we have our button, we still have our navigation down the bottom so we can change pages obviously, and we have our image and we can take a picture, but since we've only got one image it's not going to change. So let's go back to dev mode. So it's quite possible we actually want to display a little bit more than just the image. We might want to display some of that result graphics that we have. So what we'll do is we'll just go to our read data code, and I'll turn off this region so we get it back to normal. And so what we really want to do is have some diagnostics that we can provide the user so they actually have an indication of whether it's actually reading the data code or finding the pattern. So what we want to display is these result graphics. So VisionServer allows us to turn these result graphics into tags to be shown on the user interface. So each block has this graphics property result set mode. So I can enable this and select Publish Tag, and I'll do this for matching block as well. And I'll run this. And so what that means is these result graphics are now available for the user interface display. So what I'll do is go to my diagnostics page, and I'll delete what we had on here already. Add a Halcon display, and in this case it's not going to come from our camera image, it's actually going to come from our tasks, our sequence, and our matching block result set. So I'll double click on that, click accept, and I'll add another one. Let's just make those the same size. Align the top. So in this case, this one, we can actually use the $sign, and you'll see tasks, read, we'll use the read data code one in this case. Alright, let's go have a look at this in test mode. So obviously our main page looks the same. Let's take a picture, and let's go to diagnostics. So you can see we've got two images on the operator display, one with the result graphics for the pattern and one with the result graphics for the data code. So the other thing we want to do is add some parameters. So let's go to our sequence, and what we want to do is have our matching block, some of our matching block parameters configurable on the main page, on the settings page to be exact. So we can set them here in development mode, but we want the user to be able to configure them. So I can right click on the block and select Configure IO. This gives me a list of the parameters, and I can actually specify how they're configured. So in this case, I might want to specify the minimum score. I can expose that as a tag. I might also want to expose a property as an input pin or an output pin. So in this case, what I'll do is I'll specify the greediness as an input. I'll click accept here, and what you'll see is that it's created another input pin for greediness, so we can actually link that to an earlier part of our process so that it's calculated. And let's go to our settings page, and what we'll do is we'll reconfigure one of these placeholder set points to set our minimum score. So let's add tag, let's navigate into our sequence, tasks, our matching block, and you'll see here it actually has minimum score, and it's 0.5. So I can just select that, click accept. I'll give this label minimum score, and then let's just delete that one there. Alright, so let's just have a look at that now. So go to settings, and you see minimum score. So I can go and change that, and that's going to change the property on that pattern matching tool. So now we've got a sequence with result graphics, we've got settings, we've got an operator display. So one of the last things we're going to do is add some very basic data recording. So VisionServer has a built-in database, so what we're going to do is define a new database. We'll call this result data. And what we'll do is we'll add a new table. So we're just going to record our pattern recognition results and our data code results in here. So this is going to be results table. It's going to have a time, X position, Y position, and also the code, which is a string. So we've now set up our data table to record this. What we need to do is add a step in our sequence to actually store this data. So what we've got in the toolbox is data, and we'll use a database writer block. So I'm just going to double click on that and go select the table, and I'm just going to select the table that we've just added and click accept. So you'll see that it's actually created pins for every column in the data table, and I just need to link that up now. So the first one, we want the time, so I'm going to add a now block. The second one is X and Y, so we're just going to link our row and column in place of X and Y, and we want our code. Okay, so now that I've linked this up, let's just go and execute this a few times. So all this data is now being recorded in the database. So I can add a new query to our table, and let's just call it get recent, get data. And I can test it, and you can see we have a few rows in our table where the data's been stored. So I can just click accept, and let's just go to our results table and quickly add a display on here, and specify the source, which is our query that we've just created. So now if I go test again, I can go to my results page, and I have a table, and this table will update every time data is added. I can also add image recording. So in the image recording, I can add a data recorder. I can specify the format I want to record in. So in this case, we'll just record using TIFF. Specify the data directory and a format for the images. So that's just going to give the image file a timestamp, and then I just link it up like that, and that's just going to record images. So that's pretty much how we envisage VisionServer working with the Halcon software. VisionServer offers a lot of benefits. Things like the parallel block, for example, where the user can specify how the multi-threading is done. So in this case, we can put a parallel region around these two blocks and have them execute on separate threads. So that's it for this video. Thanks for watching.